Really excited about the team, about this group that we have together.
I think that having everyone, another year around one another is going to be big, and being a little bit more comfortable with one another.
I think it's definitely a different mindset, trying to prove people right than trying to prove people wrong.
Very talented club. The first sign of a good team is pitching and defense.
We're a very close-knit group. We have a lot of guys that we have a great relationship with each other.
I think everyone's just hungry for this year. And like I said, whatever happened in the past don't really matter. It's time to win, and we all feel that way.
There's definitely a sense of urgency to kind of do a little bit more than we did last year.
Ultimately, the work that was done this offseason by players, I feel like puts us in a really strong position.
Here in delightful Dunedin, Florida, it is a warm and windy afternoon. We'll see how that comes into play. The fans are filing into the ballpark as the Blue Jays get set to take on a division rival. The Tampa Bay Rays have come to tango with the Blue Jays today here at TD Ballpark. Hi, everybody, and welcome inside the ballpark here in Dunedin. Dan Schulman and Buck Martinez, so glad you're with us this afternoon. Some new faces on the Blue Jays. Not a ton of new names, but one guy generating a lot of excitement, Buck, is Justin Turner.
Without question, Dan, he is a guy that they really had their eye on in the offseason. John Snyder especially wanted to add Justin Turner to this roster. When you look at what he's done for his career, over 15 seasons, he's played over 1,500 games. He was the National League MVP in the Wild Card Series, in the Championship Series, and he won a World Series with the Dodgers in 2020. The one thing he does better than anybody the Blue Jays have had on this roster over the last several seasons is he drives in runs. He understands how to hit with runners on base, and he talks about it. You see 77 ribbies with runners in scoring position. That was fourth most in the majors. And at 39 years old, he understands that the pitcher is in a jam with runners on base, not the hitter. He's done an awful lot for this ball club already, talking about how you hit in run-producing situations, but he's also been an asset to his pitchers. He's already identified a couple of pitchers who are tipping pitches, and he's given that information to Pete Walker.
He's going to be a big asset for this team in many, many different ways. With more on that down to the field, here's Hazel May.
That's right, Dan. Justin Turner is known to be in the Blue Jays dugout pregame ahead of his teammates and sometimes 40 minutes prior to first pitch. That's something he has done throughout his career, and that's something associate manager DeMarlo Hale appreciates from the 15-year veteran. Hale said that what that tells his teammates and what that tells me is, look, I'm ready to play. Turner, of course, has won a World Series championship. He's been on postseason teams, and it's the little things, the details, that really sets teams apart. You're about to play a major league game, Hale told me. This is your job, and you shouldn't be rushed to be prepared. The Blue Jays obviously hope Turner's attention to detail and preparedness will somehow trickle down to the younger members in that clubhouse. Dan?
Hazel, thank you. Hope you don't blow away today. It is windy down in the field. Turner is hitting right behind Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the lineup today. Get your ice cream, get whatever you need, settle in, and enjoy an afternoon of baseball here from Dunedin. And ready for baseball here at TD Ballpark on this sunny afternoon. Dan Schulman and Buck Martinez, Hazel May with you, all of us here at TD Ballpark. And here is a look at the lineup for the visiting Tampa Bay Rays. They got a newcomer up top, Ahmed Rosario, who was with the Guardians and the Dodgers last year. Isaac Paredes had a big year for Tampa Bay last year. Richie Palacios, the younger brother of former Blue Jay Josh Palacios. So they brought some of the regulars, but this being a road game, not as many for Tampa Bay. And they will pick up a guy the Blue Jays signed in the offseason to provide some depth in the starting pitching department. That is Paulo Espino.
Espino's 37 years old. He pitched an inning in his debut with the Blue Jays and had 3 strikeouts in an inning of work. That was against the Phillies back on Saturday, so he gets a chance to start here. He has been a starter throughout his career. Spent some time in the big leagues with the Washington Nationals, signed originally with Cleveland.
And first pitch swinging. Rosario hits a ground ball to third. Santiago Espinal has an early opportunity to make a play.
Well, the Blue Jays, they've got some questions to resolve here in spring training. Who's going to play third base? Who's going to play second base? The outfield will be set. Today you're going to see Cam Eden, a very good outfit with a lot of speed. He's in left, Varsho's in center, and Nathan Lucas is in right. Espinal's at third, Bo Bichette up the middle. Davis Snyder, of course, he's in the battle to see if he can win a job at second base. Vladdy's at first, and Danny Jansen's behind the plate. Danny is a free agent at the end of this season. Interesting year for him.
Very interesting year for him, and I know a lot of people watching are hoping that at some point, maybe the two sides can get together and extend Jansen's time. Here's a ground ball off the bat of Jonathan Aranda, and Vladdy will take it himself. And 2 very quick outs for Espino here in the top of the first.
Yeah, you like that. The Blue Jays, of course, had a terrific season defensively last year. They were the team winner of the Gold Glove for team defense, and you put the ball in play, chances are you're going to get it out.
Espino, by the way, is starting in what you could consider Kevin Gausman's spot in the spring training rotation as Isaac Paredes steps in for the Rays. Gausman was scheduled, and we assume did, throw a side over at the player development complex about 10 kilometers or so from here. Gausman has been at this a long time, and he knows how he wants to ramp up, so they're just kind of easing Gausman into it a little bit. But John Schneider said today probably 2 ups, meaning 2 simulated innings, if you will, over at the PDC. So Espino just kind of filling in Gausman's spot right now. Nothing wrong with Kevin Gausman. Expect to see him in 5, maybe 6 days.
Yeah, with the rotation that you have in place, the 4 regulars that pitched last year, you're pretty much going to let them dictate how they want to get ready for the season. And I talked to Kevin Gausman earlier. He said his goal is to get an outing at the end where he gets 5 ups, where he gets up and down 5 times and gets his pitch count around to 75.
And strike 3 called as Espino freezes Isaac Paredes and sets down the Rays quickly. 1-2-3. Bottom of the first back here in Dunedin. A look at the Blue Jay lineup here this afternoon. Bo Bichette's in the leadoff spot. Guerrero hitting second, Turner third. And Bichette is off to a nice start here in the spring, and that surprises absolutely nobody, the way that he can swing the bat. Danny Jansen is hitting cleanup. Dalton Varsho's in center today. Davis Schneider hitting 6th, and then Espinal, Lucas, and Eden, bottom third of the order, against a guy the Rays have very, very high hopes for this year in Ryan Pepio.
Yeah, the reason they have high hopes for him is because they traded for him from the Dodgers in exchange for Tyler Glasnow. And he's got a good arm. And you see what he did last season. He's actually spent the last 2 seasons, parts of those 2 seasons, in the big leagues with the Dodgers. He didn't make his debut last year until August.
First pitch swinging, and Bichette sends one to right field. The catch is made by Rosario, and this is kind of a test for him out there. They want to see if a guy who's predominantly been an infielder can handle being an outfielder as well and be kind of a super utility guy for them.
Kevin Cash, the manager, is so aware of everything. He says, yeah, we're trying to see if he can play right field, and the wind's blowing 25 miles an hour in from right today. Not a real fair test for an infielder.
That is Kevin Cash, 10th season as manager of the Rays. And here's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hitting in the 2 spot. So no George Springer in the lineup today, although both Springer and Kevin Kiermaier are expected to make their spring training debuts tomorrow against the Phillies, and we'll have that game for you here on Sportsnet. So Bichette, Guerrero, and Turner all really moving up a spot in the order. Are you expecting to see Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, Turner top 4?
Yes. I think Turner's going to hit cleanup for them. And, you know, a year ago, it was Dalton Varsho in the first 5 games batting cleanup. That was a lot of pressure.
Ground ball, base hit up the middle for Guerrero.
You know, Vladdy Guerrero, he put up such a good year in 2021. When he had his year last year, 26 homers and 94 RBIs, everybody said, what's wrong with Vladdy? And those numbers are pretty good, and got to remember, he's still just 24 years old, just getting his feet on the ground, finding out about pitchers. But I think he's in a good spot mentally. He's in great shape. I expect him to have a good year.
So here's Justin Turner, 39 years of age, last year with the Boston after 9 great seasons with the Dodgers. Signed to be primarily a DH, will back up Guerrero at first, may play some third base. But what they want from him the most, obviously some offense, driving in big runs, and then there's the whole intangibles clubhouse leadership aspect that a guy like Justin Turner brings as well.
Yeah, and even though he's in his first season with the Blue Jays, he's already gained that respect in the locker room. I mean, he walks in and he's got a great resume, so everybody says, okay, when Justin speaks, we'll all listen.
I walked over to George Springer's locker today. He and Varsho were beside each other here and in Toronto. And Whit Merrifield was the other part of that group in Toronto. So I said to George, who's going to get that spot? That's pretty good real estate. And he looked around and he just pointed at Turner and he goes, well, that would be ideal. Springer wants Turner with him and Varsho.
Yeah, and you know what George told me too. He said, you know, last year I maybe tried a little bit too hard in those tough situations. Now I can look at this guy. He's the man. He's the guy that we look to drive in tough runs and tough situations. And with Varsho hitting down a little bit in the order, that's going to free him up as well.
I think what he's so good at, there are times to wail away and try to hit it high in the air to your pull side and hit a home run. And there are times where maybe that's not the most realistic thing, or you know, a sac fly or something like that, hitting the ball to the opposite field. He's a very smart situational hitter, and he understands that what inning you're in and what the score is, those things impact your mindset a little bit too.
Dan, that's a great point. You know what he does? He hits to the scoreboard. He knows where you are in the lineup. He knows what the score is. He knows if you're home or visiting, and he understands if you're in a tie game late in the game, get on base. If you're down by a run, think big. Those types of things, and he can factor all of those in.
3-2 again, and a swing and a miss as Pepio rings him up for the second out of the inning.
And Turner turned around to home plate umpire James Hoy to see if, in fact, that was a strike early on. You want to find out what your eyes are seeing, whether or not you went after a good pitch or not. It was a good fastball from Pepio, and it was on the inside part, but Turner turned around to ask umpire, was that a strike? Just wanting to validate what he thought.
So 2 down, Guerrero's still at first. And here's Danny Jansen. And the last thing you want to see is a fastball inside to Danny Jansen, who had all those injuries, all those hit by pitches last year. I asked him today about the finger. He said Took a while, but it's 100%. He is good to go out of the gate this year. And he's one of these guys, maybe when he's in there, you don't quite appreciate him as much as you should, but boy, do you miss him when he's not. And he had a few different stints with some injuries last year, had 301 plate appearances, only appeared in 86 games because of the injuries. Line drive, base hit into center field. Guerrero up to second. And they throw behind him, and he does dive back in.
And Danny's in a good spot. We mentioned he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. You mentioned the plate appearances. He had 268 at-bats and hit 17 home runs. And Danny understands now it's not about hitting for a high average. It's about doing damage. He says, my swing is the left side of the field, from center to left. That's where he's looking to do most of his damage.
So 2-on-2 out. Here's Dalton Varsho batting fifth, playing center field today. Of course, did a lot of that last year when Kevin Kiermaier was not in the lineup, but expected again to be the primary left fielder and then slide over at times into center. Saw Dalton for the first time this morning, and I said, are you in a better place this year? And he said, absolutely. He said, I know the guys. He said, I'm not trying to come in here and somehow prove to the guys that I belong. And you meant there was pressure on him. You know, hitting behind Vladdy, being acquired for a very popular player and a very highly thought of young player in Gurriel and Moreno. And I think he is just much more relaxed and much more secure in his abilities coming into his second season with the Blue Jays.
No question about it. And as I mentioned, they put him in the cleanup spot right out of the chute, and that was probably added pressure that he didn't need. In his first 29 games a year ago, he hit 198 with 3 homers and 9 ribbies. And I think for sure, and you mentioned it earlier, I think he's going to have a good year too. He's in a good spot right now.
And he'll take inside, ball 4, and that's going to load him up.
We've seen the Blue Jays all throughout the early days of spring training taking their walks, and that's a good sign because oftentimes early in the spring hitters want to hit, and you just go up there, hit, you might chase some bad pitches, but so far the message from Don Mattingly has been get a good pitch to hit, and if you don't, pass it to the next guy.
Which is what Davis Schneider, as relatively young as he is, he'll do that. If he doesn't think he can do damage with a pitch, he'll let it go. But boy, bases loaded at the stage of his career he's at. If you get one you like, he wants to do damage. It's Don Mattingly, with the new title this year, the offensive coordinator for the Blue Jays. There's a strike of the belt, 0-2, and that's a pitch that Schneider saw a lot of late last season. A lot of high fastballs to test his ability, whether he's going to chase or whether they can sneak some called strikes by him if he lays off.
Yeah, he certainly had that great Major League debut at Fenway Park where he just went off. He put up some historic numbers against the Red Sox, and then the league started to work him upstairs. And, you know, to his credit, he didn't chase an awful lot, but a lot of pitches up that he thought were balls were called strikes against him.
And that strike 3 called on the outside corner as Pepio gets him. And the Blue Jays leave the bases loaded in the bottom of the first.
Prior to yesterday's ball game, manager John Schneider shared the tough news that Eric Swanson's 4-year-old son, Toby, was hit by a car on Sunday and then airlifted to a nearby hospital. Thanks to the incredible work by Clearwater first responders, Toby, as we are told, is on the road to recovery and surrounded by his family. Swanson will understandably be away from the team. This is, of course, a tight-knit group, and Schneider said that his teammates have been phenomenal in their support. Quote, baseball is secondary when you're talking about family and life. Dan.
Hazel, thank you. It's every parent's worst nightmare, and just terrifying news. And thank heavens that from all reports, Toby is going to recover. Our thoughts are with Eric Swanson, his wife Madison, their family. Toby remains in the hospital, as Hazel said. Eric Swanson is away from the team, and nobody is saying exactly for how long. It'll depend on obviously how quickly Toby recovers, but all that matters right now is that the family is together and that little boy gets better.
Yeah, and you know what? You mentioned it. This team overall is very close, and the Swanson family has a lot of support from his teammates, that's for sure. Wives and husbands included.
Actually, Kevin Cash told us that the Blue Jays reached out to the Rays, them being the area team. They have contacts at every hospital, every emergency department, and I believe the Rays actually facilitated something at the hospital that Toby Swanson is at. So, that's quick thinking by the Blue Jays staff and great help by the Rays staff, and just hoping that little Toby is all better soon.
Well, Kevin grew up here in Tampa, and he played high school ball here, played baseball at Florida State, so he's been here a long time. He knows all the ins and outs of this community, and he was anxious for his organization to help out.
Austin Shenton leading off the second inning in this scoreless game. Paulo Espino getting his second inning on the mound for the Blue Jays. Shenton is a guy who is trying to make a case for himself at a Rays camp. Had a monster year last year at AA and AAA, and potentially could be like a third base, first base, DH kind of guy with the kind of power that he's got.
Yeah, he's kind of intriguing, and nobody does it better than the Rays. And all of a sudden you see a guy in the lineup goes, who's this? Kevin Cash goes, oh man, he's got good numbers, and he's got a chance to help us this year. They're good at that.
Espino, again, you would imagine, ticketed for Buffalo's rotation. He has set down all four so far today, 3 by ground out, 1 strikeout. And here is the Rays center fielder, Jose Siri, thinking about bunting for a base hit. And when you've got the kind of speed that Siri has, not a bad idea. Hit just .222 last year, but he can fly, and he hit 25 home runs.
Yeah, and he had 12 steals and 15 attempts, and he can really play center field. I'm not ready to put him in that Kevin Kiermaier category as far as a Gold Glover, but he's got a lot of speed and a lot of range in the outfield.
Big curveball drops down and in, 2 balls and a strike. You know, you look at the Rays and their numbers from last year, and sometimes the perception of what they are versus the reality of what they are, 2 different things. They hit 230 home runs last year, 6th in the major leagues. You look up and down their order, and it's 22, 25, 28. A lot of guys with power.
And Brandon Lau, he was hurt at the end of the year. He broke his kneecap fouling off a pitch. Andy Diaz won a batting title. Randy Arozarenas developed into a star. Josh Lowe, the right fielder, had a terrific season a year ago.
Ball 4 to Siri.
So, yeah, Tampa Bay, they're not going anywhere. They'll be challenged to win 99 games, I think, as they did last year. But, you know, you can never discount them. They'll always come up with something.
Well, we were talking about it between you and me, and then down on the field when we visited with Kevin Cash. Shane McClanahan out for the season after Tommy John surgery. Drew Rasmussen, his 3rd elbow surgery, may come back in September. Jeffrey Springs, Tommy John, maybe the second half, as Richie Palacios sends one foul out of play. Plus, they traded Tyler Glasnow, a terrific starting pitcher, yet they'll figure it out because they figure it out. And, you know, they may not have quite the depth. You know, you lose all these guys, and your depth becomes your top guys in your rotation. And this may be sufficient that it's not realistic for them to win 99 games again, but, you know, people have counted them out before. There goes Siri. Jansen's throw down to Bichette. Not in time. Stolen a base for Siri. But they'll compete. They always compete.
Yeah, they sure will. And they're going to get Jeffrey Springs back as a starter. Rasmussen, they don't know what role he's going to get, but he's going to come back. We mentioned Siri with 12 steals a year ago, and folks, you're going to see more running again this year as teams are getting more athletic and trying to take advantage of the rules implemented last year.
And he's going for third. Pitch is swung on and missed. Jansen's throw down is not in time there. So 2 down as Palacio strikes out, but Siri steals second and third on consecutive pitches.
Yeah, catchers are going to have to go back to school and remind themselves that the running game is part of the big league approach now, and that was on the pitcher right there. Espino never stopped Siri, and he just kept bouncing off, and got a running start over to third.
Two down, and here's the catcher, Alex Jackson, who hit .284 at AAA last year. 28 years of age, and he's got major league experience with Atlanta, Miami, and Milwaukee. It feels like one thing that every single team in baseball is looking for is that good defensive-minded veteran catcher to be at AAA and to be available if one of your two catchers gets hurt, to come up and be able to call a game, catch and block and throw and that sort of thing. Every team's looking for guys like that.
Yeah, they sure are, and they're hard to find. The Rays actually have a former Blue Jay in camp in Rob Brantley, a veteran catcher behind the plate, but he's going to be parked at AAA just as an insurance piece.
The role that Tyler Heineman filled for the Blue Jays last year. And that curveball got away from Espino, missed inside, 2-2. Expecting 2 innings out of Espino today, and then we'll see a whole run of relievers, of course, as you always do, especially this early in the spring. Strike 3 called as he gets Jackson and strands that runner at third. To the bottom of the second, no score here on this beautiful day in Dunedin, Florida. Oh, don't look now, but the Raptors are trying to increase their winning streak to 4. They will host Luka and the Mavs tonight. You can catch it at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on Sportsnet 1. That's your boat?
Not quite, no. I don't have one like that.
How do you know which one I was referring to?
Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful weekend down here. This last weekend was spectacular, and it's going to be good for a while here now.
No score, bottom of the second. Santiago Espinal leading off the inning and popping one up in foul territory, so he's retired on the first pitch. Get an Espinal situation a little bit more next time he comes around. There's a little bit more going on, I think, than has been the case for this team in the last few years in terms of battles and who's going to be where and how playing time is going to be split up, and Espinal certainly figures into that with all the infielders that the Blue Jays have. But now we move to the outfield with Nathan Lucas up at the plate and Cam Eden on deck. And again, Neither Kiermaier nor Springer has played yet. Both are expected to play tomorrow. Nothing wrong with either of them. Just, again, guys who are in their 30s, know their bodies, and are trying to ramp up. They don't need to be their best February 28th. They need to be their best in September.
Yeah, man. Lucas, of course, had a terrific season at AAA at 366 for the Buffalo Bisons.
And he lines one to the opposite field for a base hit. Let's go down to the field and Hazel May.
Dan, I talked to Nathan Lucas and I said, who's been instrumental in your improved numbers at the plate? He said, assistant hitting coach Matt Haig. He said, he's not your typical hitting coach where he says, here's the way you need to do it and do it this way. He said, what Matt likes to do is he observes and learns your swing, and then he wants to get to know you a little bit off the field. He tries to understand what your body does and helps your body get into the best position to hit. Guys?
Hazel, thank you. And one thing that every player who played for Buffalo last year has in common, they love Matt Haig. And Matt Haig is now a part of the Blue Jays hitting staff. It starts with Don Mattingly, again, the offensive coordinator, and he oversees both, swing mechanics and strategy and process. And you've got Guillermo Martinez, and then you've got Hunter Menz and Matt Haig. So there are actually 4 different people in charge of the offensive side of the ball for the Blue Jays, right?
Yeah, the only concern I have about that is that they're all delivering the same message, and you got to make sure they all get on the same page, because hitters can get overwhelmed with information when they step into the box in a big league game.
Cam Eden sends one to left center, and it'll hang up long enough to be caught by Palacios for the second out. Eden, remember, came up late in the season, great speed, actually was on the playoff roster against Minnesota because of his great speed. And he's a guy you've always had your eye on.
Yeah, because of his athleticism. He had 53 stolen bases a year ago, and as we mentioned, the stolen base is going to become a very important aspect of offense around baseball. But he just hasn't refined his approach to the plate just yet, but he's got some skills.
Here's Bo Bichette. Flied out to right his first time up. Bo seems like one of these guys, if spring training is a month long or an hour long, I think he'd be ready to go when it's opening day. He just wants to play.
Well, it's interesting. This year, he kind of took a break from baseball in the offseason and focused more on his conditioning, and I think the results are very evident when you look at him. He's trim, looks great. And I think it's going to pay off big dividends for him to stay on the field for a whole season. But you're right. He can hit in January, February, March, April, August, any month of the season he can hit. But I think his goal this year is to narrow down what he chases, just to narrow down the pitches he puts in play. There you see the next pitcher that's going to work here today, Devereaux Harrison, another right-handed reliever. But Bo, we know Bo can hit just about any pitch he sees if he commits to going after it. And Don Mattingly's challenge for Bo is, hey, make that zone smaller so you can do big things with the pitches when you put the ball in play.
How about Donnie Baseball's beard? A new look? Couldn't have worn that as a player with the Yankees.
Oh, gosh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, he and George Steinbrenner got into an argument over his hair.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
Strike 3 called outside corner as Pepio gets Bichette to set down the Blue Jays here in the bottom of the second. So I think one of the things people like talking about the most in spring training is, well, what is the roster going to look like? And at second base, third base, there are a lot of candidates. Second base, I think you think of Kevin Biggio and Davis Schneider first. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa figures to play a lot of third base. Santiago Espinal, Eduardo Escobar, a former All-Star, is in camp on a minor league deal. And then you've got the younger crowd, Orelvis Martinez, Addison Barger, Damiano Palmegiani, etc. Your guess is as good as mine as to how all of this sorts itself out this spring.
Yeah, but it's a good problem to have. They have a lot of good candidates for that role. Here's another interesting young pitcher for the Blue Jays, Devereaux Harrison, who's come out of college. He played at Cal State Long Beach State. Gosh, he's going to hate me for that.
Yeah.
Those are two big rivals in Southern California.
If Troy Tulowitzki is watching our show right now, you're in big trouble.
Absolutely. Dirtbag, Long Beach State.
Yeah. Ninth round pick out of Long Beach State in 2022. Was actually a two-way player in college a little bit. Last year at Vancouver, that's high A, had a 2.95 ERA, both in relief and as a starter, made 16 starts.
Now, what he did last year, I thought was impressive. The fact he didn't give up many hits. He just 76 hits in 94 2/3 innings. And he throws it over, does a pretty good job of pounding that strike zone.
And I think Yu Chang felt something, maybe like an oblique or something like that on the swing.
Yeah, they're going to take him out of the game right now. Kevin Cash already looked back to the dugout to suggest, hey, we're going to get somebody in here because they're not going to let him continue. Anytime you feel that kind of sharp pain, and he's going to go out. Kevin Cash was talking about obliques because he saw Gunnar Henderson, the fine shortstop for the Orioles, who suffered an oblique injury early on. And you can see Chang grabbing his left side. And that's not a good sign. Those things have a tendency to cost you a lot of time.
You know, with all the talking we do about all the different things in spring, the number one most important thing on every manager's list every year is, can we get out of here healthy?
Yeah. And it's really a challenge, obviously, because you have so many players that want to play. And this is going to be Carson Williams, who was scheduled to come into the game later on, but he's going to come in and take over this at-bat against Devereaux Harrison. So Carson Williams will pinch hit. Kevin Cash, obviously, you don't want to see anybody go down with injury. You want everybody to have a fair chance to show their skills off in spring training.
Boy, Carson Williams probably thought, hey, this is cool. I'm getting to go play in a game, and I'll probably get 2 at-bats in like the 6th and the 8th inning or something like that, and all of a sudden he is in there with barely any notice, and he takes strike 3 called on a borderline pitch. I mean, you got to feel for him a little bit. This is a 20-year-old guy. Hey, Carson, go up and hit. And then 5 seconds later, he's got to sit back down again.
That's not fair. Come on, give me a chance. No, he inherited a 2-strike count. And watch this fastball. Right on the outside corner, and he's called out.
He'll get other opportunities today. Here is Ronnie Simon, the second baseman. Did .250 between AA and AAA last year for the Rays. And a high chopper to second. Davis Schneider on to Guerrero, 2 down. Davis Schneider figures to get a long look at second, and whether it's in a regular role, a platoon with Kevin Biggio, Kevin can play all over the field. That might open up some more stuff for Schneider at second. But left field is also being discussed for Schneider, and it's easy to understand why. If there's a lefty on the mound and either Varsho or Kiermaier gets a day off, or if they want to pinch hit for one of those guys when a lefty reliever comes in late in the game, if you can throw Davis Schneider out in left field, you can get that bat in the lineup.
Yeah, and he's just 25 years old, and obviously the last couple of years things have really come together for him with the bat. But this is the big dilemma for the front office and the coaching staff of the Blue Jays is, are we better off to take Davis Schneider in a part-time role to help us win, or is he better off to go play and develop and maybe really become a good everyday infielder? So those are the questions you have to ask yourself. And the Blue Jays, obviously, they're in a win now mode. No question about it. And they're not about developing young players. They're in a win now. What's our roster going to look like and give us the best chance to win this division?
you know, you don't think of it so much because he became such a big part of the team later on in the season, but he wasn't a part of Major League Spring Training last year. No. He didn't have a locker in the clubhouse, and now, you know, he's one of the guys.
Now, last year he got in 11 games, but you're right, he was just a minor league call-up, and he got a total of just 9 at-bats, had a couple of hits. So he drove in a couple of runs, but he wasn't a regular in spring training last year.
And Devereaux Harrison gets Ahmed Rosario to chase, so he strikes out 2 in a 3-up, 3-down, top of the third. Specialty ticket. You heard that right. Pickle Fest. By purchasing a specialty ticket, fans will receive a Blue Jays pickle tote bag. Visit bluejays.com/promotions to secure your specialty ticket and tote bag now.
I want a pickle. I love dill pickles. I wonder if they come with the bag.
My sister liked pickles so much when she was a kid, her nickname was Pickles. Yeah. I don't know if she would be happy I just said that on national television.
Oh, you'll hear about it.
Yeah. We don't call her that anymore.
Oh,
She's a grown woman now. Bottom of the third, no score. And here's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to lead it off against Chris Davinsky, who has had some very good years in the majors, had some very good years with Houston, and is looking like a multi-inning reliever right now for Tampa Bay, but may turn into a little bit more than that. He's bounced around Arizona, Philadelphia, but Angels. He has a wicked changeup, and he will throw it to anybody, anytime, any count, as he falls behind 3-0 on Guerrero.
Yeah, Kevin Cash told us earlier today that he was going to stretch out Davinsky and get him in at least in a multiple inning role and possibly as a spot starter here and there. He has made 7 major league starts, but you have to go all the way back to 2019, his last starting opportunity in the big leagues. But he's pitched a lot, 225 career games in the big leagues.
And there's a 3-1 changeup that misses to Guerrero, so Vladdy walks and is aboard for the second time at a base hit back in the first.
Designated hitter number 2, Justin Turner.
Now Justin Turner. I asked John Schneider before the game, did you know Justin Turner at all before he signed? And he said, you know, just in passing, say hello last year when he was with the Red Sox. He said, got to know him on the Zoom call. He said, it's almost like having a younger brother, though. He's closer in age to me than I am to most of the players. And he said he's just a great guy to bounce things off of. It's almost like a player coach with the kind of experience and the, you know, the way he looks at the game. He is just universally seen as one of these guys who can help other people.
You know, he's got over 5,000 at-bats. I mean, that's a lot of experience. He and Springer, the only two on this roster that have that many at-bats. And, you know, he's faced all the hitters multiple times, all the pitchers, excuse me, multiple times, and he can pass on a lot of information. And he's not the kind of guy that goes, hey, you got to do it like this. He'll go up to you and say, what were you thinking on that last at-bat? Just to make sure the hitter might be thinking about the right thing. What are you looking for? What are you trying to do?
lifts one to right field, and again that wind is playing tricks on people. Rosario inexperienced out there. It falls in front of him, but he forces Guerrero at second as Vladdy, kind of got caught in the middle. Is he going to catch it or not? Kind of a tough play for a base runner.
Yeah, and that'll be a fielder's choice. But we mentioned Rosario. He's getting the opportunity to play in the outfield just to see if he can become a utility player. But you can see he saw the big swing and broke back, and the wind is howling over that right field fence and knocked it down. And Vladdy was just out there in no man's land. He didn't have much of a choice.
So Turner takes Guerrero's place at first. Here's Danny Jansen for the second time. And he grounds one down to third. Paredes to second one and on to first in time for the double play. End of 3 in Dunedin. No score between the Rays and the Jays. Alek Manoah, who is competing for the 5th spot in the rotation, made his spring debut yesterday. It was in Lakeland, Florida against the Tigers, and in an inning and 2/3 allowed 4 runs, all earned 3 hits, and hit 3 batters, 2 with fastballs, 1 with a curveball. He had these thoughts after the outing.
Starts where everything doesn't feel the best now instead of having it when it matters, so some of that inexpensive experience. So just continue to attack every day, continue to separate each day from itself and attacking the goals that I have to attack that day. And I feel like that's a good way without really thinking about it, but kind of separating the results from the work.
I went over to Lakeland specifically to watch Alek Manoah pitch, and he threw 38 pitches. He gave up a single to Riley Green to start the game, and then he hit Spencer Torkelson in the helmet with a fastball. And remember, that was part of his great season, his first year with the Blue Jays 2 years ago. He had a lot of right-handed hitters because he would have a running fastball that ran up and in. But overall, I thought it was pretty good for the first time out. You remember, he hasn't pitched since August 10th last year in the big leagues, and he just got that first outing out of the way. I'm going to give him a pass for another couple of starts just to see if he can progress and get a better spot with his delivery and command. But overall, he looked free and easy and got his fastball up to 95.5.
Yeah, was excited about the velocity, but the top 4 spots in the rotation heading into the season obviously are set with Gausman, Barrios, Bassett, Kikuchi. And when Ross Atkins was asked about it in the offseason, Manoah's name was obviously the first one that came up in terms of the 5th starter spot. I don't think they're handing him a job. I think he's got to earn that job, and they've got other guys who are good and who will compete alongside him. As Bichette ranges across second and makes a terrific play to get Jonathan Aranda.
Well, he sure did, and you just see, and we talk about what great shape he's in, and that's going to allow him to move freer and have more range on the infield, and this is a great example of that. Look where he starts. He's on the shortstop side of second, and watch where he grabs this ball. 2, 3, 4 steps, rights himself, and still has time to throw out Aranda. That's a terrific play for Bo. Good confidence builder, and he had a good year last year, committing just 8 errors. And he looks good already this year.
Isaac Paredes sends one to deep left, but right on the edge of the warning track. Cam Eden is there with the sunglasses on to make the catch. 2 down. Second inning of work on the mound for Devereaux Harrison, who is now retired 5 in a row. But just to wrap up Manoah, he's going to get another start in 5 days and another one after that. And if everything goes well, he will be the 5th starter because it will mean that he has had a good spring.
Right. And you know what? That's not a bad thing to compete.
A base hit for Austin Shenton.
You know, there was a guy in a similar situation last spring that had to win a job into the rotation. That was Yusei Kikuchi.
Yeah.
And because of that, he pitched 20 innings in spring training, and he was really focused on making the team, and hopefully that'll have the same impact on Manoah this year.
Hazel's got more.
Dan, I asked I asked John Schneider whether that number 5 spot was Manoah's to lose, and he said, well, what he's done for the organization definitely gives him a leg up on the competition, but they're at a point where they're taking it literally one day at a time. We have all the confidence in the world in him and the work he's done in the offseason, but we're going to wait and see for that Alek Manoah we're familiar with. Guys?
Hazel, thank you. That's the Manoah they're hoping to see. You know, Bowden Francis is a name that gets mentioned often, and he was very impressive last year, and they are stretching him out. So I think Bowden Francis is going to be on the staff one way or another. It just probably depends in what role, but he's a guy that a lot of people are keeping a close eye on this spring as well.
I love Bowden Francis. He has got a starter's body for me. He's got big, strong legs. He's a big, strong guy. I think he can stand up to the rigors of starting, and he's got a full arsenal of pitches. He's got a great curveball, and he's added a split finger pitch this spring, so I'm anxious to see him pitch multiple innings this spring.
I think 2 other names to keep an eye on to varying degrees. One is Mitch White, who in September hit 98 with his fastball, dominated in September at Buffalo, is out of options, is obviously here in a camp, and I asked John Schneider today, did Mitch bring the 98 with him into camp? And he said he absolutely did. And then, of course, pending the severity of the hamstring issue is Ricky Tiedemann, who I think probably in all likelihood, no matter what happens, starts at AAA, builds up some innings. He only threw 62 innings last year because of injuries, but obviously when you've got the talent Ricky Tiedemann has, your name is always going to be mentioned. Another play for Bichette, on to Schneider at second to force Shenton, and that'll retire the Rays. Going to the bottom of the 4th. Here in Florida, no score on this beautiful afternoon. The Oilers host the Blues tonight in Edmonton. Zach Hyman is looking for his 40th goal of the season. What an outstanding season he has had. Scotiabank Wednesday Night Hockey kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 Mountain on Sportsnet. Flew down here yesterday from Toronto, and I think a lot of people in the ballpark today were on that plane yesterday. There were, to nobody's surprise, tons of Blue Jay jackets and jerseys and caps on the flight down from Toronto. And, you know, in a strange way, like, people love going to regular season games, home, road, doesn't matter. But people are so excited to come down to spring training, and you always hear the story, like, it's the first time I've been able to do this, or now that my kids are out of school, or whatever the case may be. People love coming to spring training.
Yeah, spring training is so good for everybody. Players, fans, of course, love it. The fact that the fans are so close to the action, and they can see the players, and they can talk to the players, and everything's pretty relaxed.
Dalton Varsho up for the second time, leading off the bottom of the fourth. Drew a walk his first time up. He's popped it up to the third base side of the mound, and racing in to make the play is Paredes, the third baseman, one down.
Second baseman, number 36, Davis Schneider.
Davinsky's been very efficient since he's come into the ballgame, just 15 pitches so far. They gave up a walk to start his outing, then a fielder's choice and a double play got him out of the third inning, his first inning of work.
Here's Davis Schneider for the second time, and you saw his numbers from a year ago. Everybody remembers the ridiculous and, in fact, historic start that he got off to. And you saw his end numbers there. He had 21 extra base hits in 35 games. Had an OPS over 1,000, and that was with an 0 for 31 near the end of the season, which shows you how hot he was when he first came up. Remember that weekend at Fenway Park? I said to him, did you at any point this winter just kind of sit back and reflect on what a wild ride that 6 weeks was? And he said, no, not really. He's like the most laid-back, level-headed guy. He goes, no, not really. He said, but my mom asked me the same question you just asked me.
Yeah, and I asked him, I said, what did you do differently in the winter? He said, nothing. He said, why would I change it? I said, you're right. Why would you change anything? Just trying to figure out why he had that long offer at the end of the year.
And a swing and a foul tip. He's down on strikes. He is so chill. And his locker, remember it's his first time in Major League Spring Training, he's right there with Spencer Horwitz and Ernie Clement. And those are the three amigos.
Yeah.
They all live together here in Florida. And it's no coincidence that the three of them have lockers together. Those guys are inseparable. But nobody knows how many of them will be on the team when it starts for real.
Yeah, and I think, too, as you look at Trevor Richards, he's getting loose for some work here today. But you talk about Ernie Clement. You mentioned him. He had a great day yesterday. Had 3 hits, hitting in the leadoff spot, and he's an interesting guy.
Well, and he may impact Santiago Espinal. How many infielders can you keep? And they signed Eduardo Escobar, and they all do slightly different things. And Isaiah Kiner-Falefa figures into this because he can play shortstop. And, you know, Espinal's been around long enough. He obviously understands this, but there are only so many roster spots, and not everybody's going to be here when the season starts.
No. And like I said, they're going to have what they think is the best roster to give them a chance to get off to a good start. They got a tough schedule to start the season, 10 games on the road.
Well, Escobar's on a minor league deal, so he's not on the 40-man roster. That's not something you can't overcome. If you really want a guy badly enough, you figure it out. Clement is out of options, so they would have to, if they decided that Clement is not going to make the team, they had to put him through waivers and risk losing him. It's a big, complicated jigsaw puzzle. As Espinal grounds out, good play by Paredes. 3 up, 3 down. Go the Blue Jays. We'll see Trevor Richards when we come back. Specialty tickets return in 2024 with 6 incredible offers for fans. In honor of the 50th anniversary of Hello Kitty, the Blue Jays are offering an exclusive Hello Kitty light-up bow bobblehead. The bobblehead is only available with the purchase of a specialty ticket and to a limited quantity of fans. Visit bluejays.com/promotions to secure your specialty ticket now. Top 5, no score. Dan Schulman, Buck Martinez, Hazel May. As Trevor Richards is into the game for the Blue Jays after 2 scoreless innings from Devereaux Harrison. Richards' first 4 months last year, absolutely terrific. Got rid of the slider, just fastball changeup, had great results, then went on the IL with a neck issue, and when he came back second half of August, was unable to continue to have that kind of success in late August and into September. The Blue Jays avoided arbitration. They and Richards agreed on a 1-year deal, and here he is, I would assume, ticketed for the same kind of role in the bullpen he's had the last couple of years.
Yeah, he was terrific, and then he had that neck issue, and I asked him what was the problem when he came back. He said, I couldn't throw my changeup for strikes, and it's a fastball changeup approach, so that's very important that he does that.
Ooh, and the throw from Guerrero to Richards, they can't connect, and safe at first on the play is Richie Palacios.
You will not see Vladdy Guerrero make too many throwing errors. He's one of the best first basemen at throwing the baseball around the diamond, and this one's going to be an error. And pitchers have a lot of confidence in Vladdy when they're covering first base, but he doesn't make a good throw here. And you can see it was down and away from Trevor Richards. He got a little more time right there and came from the side. You know, he's going to talk to himself about that one, but you don't see him make too many bad throws.
You know what's funny about that play? So PFP, pitcher fielding practice, which they work on a lot every spring. But I think like 99 of the 100 balls, it's the first baseman going to his right and then throwing the ball back to the mound. That play that happened, I mean, it's a play that's got to be made, but it's not a play that's worked on as much as the other play.
Well, and you can bet he knows he has to take a little more time, turn his body a little bit more, get his feet underneath him, and make an overhand throw. You can't make that throw from the side, trying to hit a moving target with the base runner bearing down on first base as well.
And obviously you want to give the pitcher the ball before he gets to the bag. The pitcher should be able to concentrate on the ball. Once he catches the ball, then you look for the base. So E3 on the play.
And that's a dangerous play for a pitcher because that throw takes him into the path of the base runner. So you can bet Vladdy will talk to Trevor Richards. Hey, man, that was a bad throw. Sorry about that one, and I'll do better next time.
Called strike, and 1-2 now on the catcher, Alex Jackson. We are not exactly sure which other pitchers we are going to see for the Blue Jays today. We do have the names of a couple of guys coming out of the minor league camp. We already saw Devereaux Harrison, and we believe we are going to see Andrew Bash and T.J. Brock, among others, today. You and I both saw Hayden Yinger and Connor Cook's names on a list, and Jimmy Garcia's name was on a list as well, but sometimes the plans change from day to day here in the spring.
Yeah, when a major league pitcher is on the list for a spring training game, he's going to pitch in the game more often than not. And Jimmy Garcia, we're going to see him in a game. Wait till you see him throw. He's really throwing the ball well. And Pete Walker's been very pleased with the work his entire pitching staff has put in this spring. And now it's a matter of just refining their pitches in the course of the spring.
Swing and a miss. The changeup to get Jackson, 1 down.
Well, that was the bread and butter pitch for Trevor Richards last year. He had 105 strikeouts in 72 2/3 innings. And you say, well, how does he do it? He doesn't throw hard, but man, this is a disappearing changeup. He throws it so well. When he gets it in the strike zone, the hitters see it. They think it's a fastball, and they swing before the ball ever gets to him. That's the pitch that he wants to get into the strike zone, a first pitch changeup, and he pulled it out of the zone, and it was really an ineffective pitch. Didn't have any impact whatsoever.
So now this is Carson Williams. Remember, he came on inheriting a 3-2 count when Yu Chang had to leave the game with an injury earlier. Former first-round pick by the Rays. And there's Manuel Rodriguez, who is obviously going to be the next Tampa Bay pitcher today.
That's illegal. A young hitter facing a polished veteran throwing a terrific changeup. You can see Carson Williams was thinking, that's a fastball. I'm going to take a good cut at it. And he was so far out in front of it, he just cut his swing down about halfway.
So we got another one.
Why not?
Yeah.
What is that? What is he throwing? Come on, man. Throw it harder.
I wouldn't look fastball here, Carson. And a changeup misses down and away, full count.
Yeah, he's liable to throw another change of full count just because that's what he's working on. He wants to throw it into the strike zone and get a swing and a miss from the hitter. Scoreless game. Looks like the guy at first base wants to run a little bit.
Jose Siri also already has stolen a couple of bases in this game. And he is running on the 3-2. It's ball 4, though, to put Williams on, so it's 2 on with a 1 out.
Second baseman, number 70, Ronnie Simon.
So first and second, 1 down. Richards will now face Ronnie Simon, the second baseman who grounded out his first time up. I think there will be a lot of familiar faces in the Blue Jay bullpen. Doesn't look like there will be a ton of turnover there. You've got Jordan Romano. You've got Eric Swanson when he is able to come back and rejoin the team. That ball in the dirt. Both runners will take off and advance on a wild pitch.
Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk are two of the best in the big leagues at blocking balls in the dirt, and that time Danny was just a little bit late getting down on that changeup. But he has really worked hard on those skills, and he's one of the best in the business.
And another change, this one in the dirt, swung on and missed, a ball and a strike. Blue Jays will play the infield back. Up the middle, Espinal and Guerrero are in a little bit closer at the corners, so they would have the option to come home.
The reason you play back in this situation, second and third with just 1 out, is if you come in and the ball's hit through the infield, it's going to cost you 2 runs. So you stay back. If you get a ground ball, the infielders have more range. They can get it out.
Fly ball to left center, fairly well hit, but Eden is back. He'll make the catch. Both runners will tag. Palacios in to score. Williams to third. 1-0 Tampa Bay.
Good job by Simon getting the pitch up in the zone, just going the other way, and he hits it deep enough into the outfield to cash 1 run in. Carson Williams tagging at second. He moves over to third. Palacios scores the first run of the ball game, and Tampa Bay is up. A wild pitch factored in immediately.
And activity in the Blue Jay bullpen. Left-hander Mason Fluharty is up, just in case the pitch count gets a little too big here for Richards in his one scheduled inning of work. Ahmed Rosario getting his third at bat of the game, a ground out and a strikeout so far. Just to finish up on the pen, we talked about Romano, Swanson. A full healthy year of Chad Green is going to be a very good thing for the Blue Jays. Jimmy Garcia, Trevor Richards, all from the right side. Tim Meza, Genesis Cabrera from the left side. This one driven to deep center field, and Varsho a diving attempt, but he can't come up with it. It'll bounce over towards Eden, and that'll be an RBI double for Rosario to make it 2-0 Rays.
This is not a fun day for outfielders with this wind blowing hard in from right field. And Varsho, he's played a lot of center field, and that ball just got away from him. He kept closing ground on it. The wind kept pushing it away from him. Watch where he starts out on the right field side of center, and he got a long run, and that ball just keeps getting blown further and further away from him. He could never catch up to it.
Missed it by just a couple of inches. It goes as a double. It is 2-0 Rays. And here is Jonathan Aranda, the first baseman, who's 0 for 2. Ball and a strike. The Blue Jays will open the regular season against the Rays at Tropicana Field March the 28th. That's a Thursday. A 4-game series. The Blue Jays starting the season on the road, a 10-game 3-city road trip. The renovations at the Rogers Center, they wanted as much time as possible to get everything shipshape. So talk about a challenging way to begin the year. 4 at Tampa Bay, 3 at Houston, 3 at the Yankees.
Well, you want to find out how good you are, you find out right out of the chute.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a very challenging road trip. I think this is going to be the last batter for Trevor Richards. He's thrown 26 pitches. That's an awful lot for just the second appearance of the spring.
Sprayed foul, still 2-2. And a chopper up the third baseline. Tough play. Barehanded by Espinal. They got him. Boy, a terrific play by Santiago Espinal at third to get Aranda and retire the side.
Well, Espinal, he moves all around the field. He's kind of deep at third base. He's got a long run to make this play. It's sure-handed and a throw right on time to get Trevor Richards out of the inning.
New pitcher on for the Rays as we go to the bottom of the fifth. The right-hander Manuel Rodriguez. You see his numbers from a year ago at AAA. Perhaps no team in baseball is as dependent on their AAA team for pitching reinforcements as the Rays. So Kevin Cash keeps a close eye on every single appearance that a minor leaguer makes in a spring training game. Hope you brought your sunscreen to the ballpark today. 2-0 Tampa Bay. As we go to the bottom of the fifth and getting ready, I think, to do our first of 2 interviews today. We're going to be joined by DeMarlo Hale a little bit later on. He is the newly coined associate manager of the Blue Jays. Talk to him in a couple of innings as Nathan Lucas leads it off. We believe our first guest is getting close, though. We'll leave you in suspense until he puts the headset on. Lucas with a base hit to left field, his first time up. Lucas, Cam Eden, and then if he bats for a third time, it would be Bo Bichette. But we'll wait and see if guys get third at bats here today. And swung on, missed to get him, one down.
Rodriguez had a lot of strikeouts in the minor leagues last year. He had 80 strikeouts in just over 50 innings, and he next strikes out Nathan Lucas with a high fastball.
There's Cam Eden for the second time. He squares to bunt, and that one's going to go foul. Boy, that got right in on his hands. I don't know if he cracked the bat on that as well. That one feels like it might leave some bees in your hands.
Yeah, it looks like the bat boy picked up the bat. Watch where this ball is, way inside, and he's fortunate he got his hand out of the way, because oftentimes you'll extend your fingers over the front part of that bat and you can get hit by the pitch, and indeed he's got a different bat. Broke his bat on that bunt attempt and wasn't really sure where the ball was.
We are told our interview guest has talked his way into playing one more inning today, so he's good. The interview will be delayed by an inning, but that takes priority.
Yeah, Danny got a base hit his first time up, but hit in a double play on the first pitch in his second at bat, so he hasn't seen many pitches today.
Well, I hadn't told people who it was. I was keeping them in suspense.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's Danny Jansen. We're going to talk to Danny, yeah, at some point. So
I blew your story.
Yeah,
Sorry about
that's
that.
all right.
We got a lot of things going on in the booth
Yeah,
right now. We got all kinds of changes for the Rays.
Tampa Bay just made 7 substitutions. One and two, the count on Eden. And Bo Bichette is indeed in the on-deck circle, so he will take a third at bat. Usually up to the major league, right? Give me another inning, give me another at bat. They can talk their manager into that.
Yeah, and you know what? I really like to see these guys get a lot of at-bats. Bo had 54 at-bats last spring in 20 games. He had 315, and I just think you need to see a lot of pitches to get ready for the season.
And strike 3 called. Rodriguez gets Eden, 2 down.
For the strikeouts we mentioned, Rodriguez, this is his second spring outing. He debuted on the 25th of February against the Tigers. Gave up a home run, but also had a strikeout in that one inning of work. And there you see Danny Jansen. It'd be good to talk to him when he is finished this afternoon.
So here's Bichette, 0 for 2, a fly ball and a strikeout so far today. Big swing and a miss here, 1-1. Went after a slider right over the outside corner. There's so much video and information in the regular season, but in the spring you're still stepping in there against guys sometimes you have no idea who they are and what they throw. Right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets you back to being a kid again. You know, you go to the ballpark in high school and you have no idea what you're going to face, so you step in the box and you might even take a pitch or two. I got to figure out what I'm dealing with. Rodriguez, that pitch he struck out Cam Eden on was 98 miles an hour. Good sinking fastball. This is the type of guy that Tampa Bay has over the years said, okay, we're going to call this guy up, and you see him and you go, who's this guy? Where'd he come from? He ends up having a big role in their bullpen. They can turn over a bullpen as good as anyone.
Sometimes they have to because of injuries.
Sure.
They seem to get injured more than anyone, but they always seem to have reinforcements.
But and also finances. And they have to trade guys when they get near free agency, as they did with Tyler Klass now.
Off the end of the bat into left field, a base hit for Bichette.
And those are the little things right there that are going to be emphasized as Bo's day will come to an end on a good note. Gets a base hit, and now he's out of the game for a pinch runner. But he hits that slider off the end of the bat. It's interesting and important because now he gets a 2-out hit in a 2-run game, and you get Vladdy Guerrero to the plate.
Luis de los Santos is on to pinch run for Bichette. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. getting his 3rd plate appearance of the day. Vladdy has had a base hit and he's walked. And again, 98 in there for a strike, 1-1. Strike 2 called. And tied him up. Fastball in to get him. He strikes out Guerrero. So 3 strikeouts in the inning for Rodriguez. And to 5, still 2-0 Rays. Sixth inning here, 2-0 the Rays leading the Blue Jays. Left-hander Mason Fluharty is on. You see his numbers from a year ago at a couple of different levels, including an impressive 75 strikeouts through in 57 2/3 innings. We'll tell you more about him as time allows. But as promised, we've got Danny Jansen on a headset at the end of the Blue Jay dugout. How are you, Jano?
What's going on, fellas? Doing well.
Tell us about your winter, but no baseball. How's the family? What interesting things did you do? How were the dogs? What was your winter like?
Yeah, winter was it was definitely eventful. I feel like it gets faster and faster every off season, especially with the little one, always keeping us on our toes. So yeah, it's great. Just taking a couple trips, being home, being with the family, watching my son. Going to be full-time dad at home, so it's a good time.
Danny, are you in the best shape of your life?
I believe I am. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, sometimes my left back, just from holding miles, so I got to switch up and do the right sometimes too. But yeah, it's been good.
Well, talk about what you have seen so far from your top starters, your first 4 guys that had such a great year last year. What have you seen from those starters?
Yeah, it's been impressive coming in. I mean, these guys are all pros. They've done it now. They know where they need to be, in the start of spring. So just coming in. And, seeing the action, seeing their pitches, seeing them work, getting into lives with them and having a couple in the game, it's been a lot of fun to be back there and kind of build off the success and build off even some failures in certain pitches and certain things. So just to hit the ground running with those fellas. It's been good.
Danny, you and I talked this morning. I know you have caught Yariel Rodriguez, a newcomer to the team, and I know you took BP a few days ago off Ricky Tiedemann. Can you tell us about those two experiences?
Yeah, exciting arms. Yeah, Yariel is, it's, you know, we don't really see many guys kind of switching arm angles and stuff like that, and a couple different sliders and curveballs. So I caught a live BP with him and just trying to get used to him, get to know him a little bit, told him, you know, it's his game, so shake me off. I'm just going to try to get on the same, you know, brainwave as him, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in a game and game action and competing with him. And Ricky as well. Oh, whoa, that's up.
Yeah.
Surprise for someone. And Ricky as well, electric arm, electric stuff. So faced him in live, 98 at 9 in the morning. That was fun. So, but yeah, it's a lot of arms, and it's been fun. It's been good.
Thanks for the opportunity, Coach.
Yeah.
You had a chance to catch Yusei Kikuchi his first time out, and the big talk in camp has been his changeup. Give me your assessment of Kikuchi and how that might help him in the course of the season.
Yeah, we've seen glimpses of it. Like, it's been, I mean, it's been hard, it's been soft, it's been a splitter, so it's really just like a, you know, getting comfortable with the pitch that he can throw it in the zone and take out of the zone. But it's been at a great speed right now, and it's definitely a focus into games, into camp, bullpens, and all these things. Is to get that in there and get him comfortable with it. So far so good. It's been great. I'm just gonna keep building off it and keep calling it, keep using it. But yeah, he's got 4 great pitches, you know. So it's been a good time.
Have you, and obviously you have, but
oh my God,
wow, smoked into the Rays dugout.
You look alive over there.
Yeah, you can see in there better than we can. Is everybody okay?
Everybody's good. Yep. Everybody probably sitting down now.
Wow. And they're all yelling, like the bat and the ball, everything's flying over there. All his teammates are pointing out to center field, like, keep it fair, dude. Can you talk about, Danny, the changes you've seen in Yusei Kikuchi, not in terms of the stuff, but whether it's confidence or aggressiveness or anything like that? How has that gone along with how this, you know, his results have improved?
Yeah, you know, it's no secret. You know, when you're more confident, you know, you're at your best. And
make a play, Jano.
Glad he's there. So yeah, it's been good. Just seeing him for a couple years now, and just seeing how, you know, he's progressed as a pitcher. I mean, through success or struggle, he's an outstanding guy, outstanding teammate. Works super hard. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch him and to see him work. And he's a student of the game for sure. So I love competing with him.
You know, Danny, we talk about the strength of your bullpen, and you know them as well as anybody, but I think from the top to the bottom, you might have the best bullpen in the American League. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, these guys, they're nasty, and they got, you know, some of the best put-away pitches, and so the wind is howling.
And helping.
Yeah, it's a great bullpen, great guys, and, you know, they're coming after you. They're getting ahead, and they're trying to put you out, and you got obviously great defense as well. So, you know, not scared to be in the zone. You know, certain situations, of course, you might go away from that a little bit, but you know, trusting the guys behind them. But they got some power stuff.
Give me your first impressions of Justin Turner as a teammate.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's you know, he's done it for so long. Having a guy with that experience, playoffs, regular season, facing him. Talk about what a headache just facing him, you know, as a player and as a hitter. But just, you know, he's you know, he'll help you out if you need, whether it's mentally or physically, you know, if you want some help in the cage. And that's a guy that I would definitely, you know, go towards and hear what he has to say, you know, about hitting, about the approach. So he's a pro, he's a veteran, and outstanding dude as well. Physically,
the injury from last year all healed. You're 100% good to go.
Yep. It's yeah, off season. You know, once the season ended, I had some more time to really make sure it was all good. So that was good. So yeah, it's been good to go for a while now, and I'm just excited to get going.
Danny, we appreciate this. We are as well. Have a great season.
Thanks, guys.
Back here in Dunedin, we go to the bottom of the 6th. The Rays up with the Blue Jays 2-0. Our thanks again to Danny Jansen. And don't forget, DeMarlo Hale is going to be joining us a little bit later on in the game. Here is Colby White. You see his numbers from a season ago as he becomes the 4th pitcher of the game for the Rays.
Colby White was coming back from Tommy John surgery a year ago, so he did not make his season debut until June 6 when he started his rehab. First action since October of 2021. So he's on here with Tampa Bay leading 2-0. Not much offense here today.
Justin Turner getting his 3rd at bat of the game. Turner has struck out and reached on a fielder's choice, so 0 for 2. Brian Serven has come out of the on-deck circle. He's a catcher, so he is in Danny Jansen's spot. As Turner swings and misses 1 and 2.
You know, we talk about the great season Justin Turner had a year ago. It didn't get off to a great start with the Red Sox. He got hit in the face in spring training down in Fort Myers, and it was a frightening scene. And you just wondered if he was ever going to bounce back from that. Boy, he came back and did a terrific job. You know, that's the one thing hitting coaches and managers always worry about when a guy's been hit in the head or hit in the face. How are you going to respond, and what's that next at bat going to look like? And boy, oh boy, he really came back and did a terrific job.
And he'll take a walk. Let's go down to Hazel.
You guys mentioned Cal State Fullerton earlier. I talked to Justin Turner, who told me he was a bat boy for Reed Johnson, Aaron Rowan, and Mark Kotsay at Cal State Fullerton. And at some point in his career, he said he was lucky enough to play against those 3 guys. And then when he went to Cal State Fullerton, his bat boy, Matt Chapman.
Can you picture Matt Chapman as a bat boy? That's funny. Max McDowell is on to pinch run, by the way, for Turner. So Turner's afternoon comes to a close. And here is Brian Serven. 28-year-old catchers, had a little bit of playing time in the majors with Colorado each of the last 2 years, more so in 2022 than in 2023. And we talked about that Tyler Heineman role, that veteran catcher at AAA. If something happens to one of the 2 guys in the big leagues, and Brian Serven certainly is bidding to be that guy. And he had a double and a homer and drove in 5 in a game just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, he is 3 for 4 in his 4 at-bats, and he's done a terrific job. On Monday, he hit this ball out of the ballpark to straightaway center field, a 3-run home run. He's also had a 3-run bases-clearing double in this spring, and he's driven in 8 runs so far this spring. Alan Roden, another good-looking minor league prospect. He is second on a team with 5 ribbies, but Serven's off to a great start.
McDowell with a running start, and he'll take second without a throw, and he just totally picked on the fact that the pitcher wasn't even looking at him. White wasn't even looking at him right there, and he got a healthy 3-run running step lead there.
Yeah, it's interesting, and you see he bounced off there. Pitcher never even thought about him stealing.
And White a little all over the place right now. He is 3 and 2. He walked Turner. McDowell, the pinch runner, steals second, and now a full count on Serven. And Dalton Varsho will indeed get a 3rd plate appearance. He is in the on-deck circle. And that's ball 4. Back-to-back walks here to open the bottom of the 6th.
Yeah, that's going to get a visit from the pitching coach for Tampa Bay, Kyle Snyder. And Snyder's done a terrific job as the pitching coach for the Rays, and he's out to help his young pitcher get back into the strike zone. That last pitch looked like he slipped a little bit and lost his footing. So he starts his outing here with back-to-back walks. The Blue Jays will get another reliever ready for the next inning. Andrew Bash loosening up.
So 2 on with nobody out for Varsho, who has walked and popped up. Santiago Espinal with a nice play at third earlier in this game. And now everybody ready to go as Varsho digs back in. And takes a strike over the inside corner.
Borderline pitch right on the inside corner, not the one he wanted to offer out after back-to-back walks to start this inning.
And in case the Rays need another arm this inning, Emmanuel Mejia starting to throw.
Varsho went through an interesting process in the offseason. He said, when I got home in the fall to Wisconsin, I started chopping trees down just to get that feel of hitting down on the baseball. He said, I hit too much under the ball last year. I want to get on top of it more. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That's really old school, you know? You hear about guys doing that, chopping trees and using an axe to get that motion of down, staying on top of the baseball. He said that's the first thing he did when he got home. Felt like he popped up too many balls.
You ever chop a tree down?
Oh, yeah. I grew up in Northern California.
That's right. I've never chopped a tree.
I actually won an axe throwing contest.
Did you really?
Yeah. Double-bitted axe. So you throw it overhand and stick it into the end of a big tree. It's pretty cool.
Like as a teenager, or?
No. As a adult.
Oh, really? Ground ball to second, and safe at first is Varsho. So the fielder's choice will force Servin at second. Runners on the corners, 1 down.
Second baseman, number 36, Davis Schneider.
Nice play by the infielder there at second base as he did a good job of tagging the runner, but Varsho, as he always does, hustling up the line to beat out the return. The first.
And his afternoon has come to a close. Rafael Lantigua, who is going to take over in center field, is on to pinch run for Varsho. And here's Davis Schneider getting his third at bat, over 2 with a couple of strikeouts today. And there goes Lantigua right away, and he's in safely. The ball bounces away from Turner, and in to score is McDowell with the first run for the Blue Jays this afternoon.
Well, Antigua's an interesting young prospect, too. He's got some pretty good offensive numbers from AAA, and there he takes off for second and scores on the air by the catcher. The ball is short of the mark. It goes off the infielder's glove, and with that, Max McDowell comes in to score.
Rafael Lantigua is a guy who I don't think his name gets as much, play or hype as some of the other guys who have done well in the minors. But again, the guys who have played with him say, man, you should see this guy hit. And he plays all over the field. Not a big guy, like 5'7", 170, but he can hit.
There's a guy in Houston like that.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, Lantigua, he's pretty interesting. He hit .305 in AAA with 12 homers and 85 ribbies.
And I think he walked 98 times, if I'm not mistaken.
He did walk 98 times and struck out just 107 times.
Yeah. Up and in, 3-1 to Schneider.
It's a green light situation for Schneider. Get something that you can drive and cash in on this scoring opportunity.
He tried. 3-2.
That's the swing you want to put off on that count. 3-1 fastball up in the zone. He had a good cutout.
And up a little bit higher. He went after it and strikes out. 2 down.
Yeah, he saw a steady diet of those high fastballs at the end of the season a year ago, and that was a ball, obviously, but with 2 strikes, he felt like it was too close to take, and he swings right through it.
And Kevin Cash is going to make a change. That is the end for Colby White. He has reached his pitch count. And Manuel Mejia will be coming into the game. Santiago Espinal getting a little info. Right-hander Emmanuel Mejia is into the game. His numbers between AA and AAA. Another guy, and this is the first time that you and I will see him throw, but 74 strikeouts and 50 2/3 kind of jumps off the page.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about as far as the depth in the organization. They're guys you've not really heard a lot about, but they trust them to come to the big leagues and have an impact if there is a need over the course of a season.
Santiago Espinal all over that first pitch as he lines it into left. And he's got himself an RBI single as Rafael Antigua comes in to score to tie the game.
That was really interesting. In between innings, when they had made the pitching change, Hunter Mintz on the bench was giving Espinal all kinds of information about what he might expect against that new pitcher, and he was all ready for it. He jumps all over the first pitch and hooks it just inside the bag down the third base line. A big 2-out hit for Espinal, and what a nice way to finish his day here this afternoon in Dunedin. Picks up an RBI double.
Tanner Morris into pinch run, and now Nathan Lucas will flare one into shallow left for a base hit. Second hit in 3 trips for Lucas. And his day is done. Well, the subs are coming in right now. Stuart Baroa is going to run for Lucas.
First base, number 81, Stuart Baroa.
I tell you, these spring games keep you on your toes.
Yeah, how's your scorecard look?
About how you would expect it looks.
A little different than keeping score in a hoops game, huh?
You just give up. That happens too fast. Here's Cam Eden. Blue Jays have tied it with a couple of runs here in the bottom of the 6th. Out hitting the Rays 6-2. Everybody's in a good mood. No stress in the spring.
Oh, there's stress down there, believe me. There are guys that understand you've got to have a good spring, win a job, but you just can't put too much stress on it. You got to try to be as relaxed as possible and have a good spring.
And swung on and missed. Eden strikes out to end the inning, but the Blue Jays do get a couple of runs to tie it. It's 2-2 at the end of 6. This season, the Blue Jays are hosting their first ever Pickle Fest specialty ticket. By purchasing a specialty ticket, fans will receive a Blue Jays pickle tote bag. Visit bluejays.com/promotions to secure your specialty ticket and your tote bag now. Along with Buck Martinez and Hazel May, Dan Schulman, we are all very glad you're with us. Hope you're enjoying a little spring training action. We are back with you tomorrow when the Blue Jays host the Phillies here at TD Ballpark. Jose Barrios will get the start of that game, so we look forward to watching him pitch. Underway here in the 7th, and a ground ball down to third. Tanner Morris makes the play for the first out. All kinds of changes. In fact, everybody is fresh. This is Andrew Bash into the game for the Blue Jays. His combined numbers at AA, AAA a year ago. Dominic Keegan is the batter now for Tampa Bay.
Keegan is catching now. Bash actually got an appearance last spring, so he is in camp for the first time officially this year.
Originally a 30th round pick of the Angels back in 2019. Did not pitch in the COVID year in the minors 2020 and signed with the Blue Jays prior to 2021. So he has been in the Blue Jays organization for the last 3 years and got as high as AAA last year. And in deference to the line, you can never have enough pitching. You can never have enough pitching, and that's all of these guys matter. And you know, you look at the beginning of the season and you say, okay, this is your 13-man pitching staff, and then go on Baseball Reference in November and you'll see like 36 guys pitch for it, and it's everybody. It's a good team, bad team, doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter at all. But the difference for the Blue Jays this season compared to last spring they had a lot of retreads. A lot of guys that had been to the big leagues, maybe AAA veterans, but this year they've got a lot of younger pitchers that are promising prospects, and that's encouraging for the pitching staff overall. And now, as we've talked about before, everybody in camp, the pitchers especially, treat all of the young kids exactly equal. So you want to share something. We heard Chris Bassett talk about it on the interview we had with him a couple days ago. He said, we got something for everybody. We got sinker ball pitchers, we got split finger pitchers, we got curveball pitchers, we got Japanese pitchers, Latino pitchers, American pitchers. We even got a pitcher from Slovakia. We got a little bit of everything for you.
Bash's 3-2 to Keegan. Popped up into left center, and Devontae Brown drops it. I think he got a late read on it, broke back, came in, and never could quite corral it, and that'll be an error charged to Devontae Brown.
Yeah, and he saw the big swing, but the ball was hit off the end of the bat. His first move was back toward the fence. And watch the left fielder, top of your screen. He breaks back, and that's a fatal move for him. By the time he recovers, he had the speed to recover, but because he's got to run so hard, he didn't make a good play of it, and it'll be an error charge to the left fielder.
So 1 on, 1 out. Here is Carson Williams, who has struck out and walked and scored. Andrew Bash last year worked almost exclusively as a reliever at AA, but started 9 times at AAA. And sometimes just looking at the number of games a guy starts is not indicative of his role. They can be piggybacking, or you can be an opener or something like that. But they did definitely stretch him out at AAA. And he had good numbers. Had a 2.22 ERA in 13 appearances, 9 of them starts with the Bisons last year.
I really find it interesting when you look at the background of these minor league pitchers where they have started. As you see another Ray, Nathan Wiles is loosening up, big right-hander. You could have a junior college pitcher, or like Bash, he pitched at Cal Baptist in Riverside, California. Not one of those baseball hotbeds in Southern Cal. We've seen Cal State Fullerton today. We've seen Long Beach State. And guys come from all different places. It's just about their ability and an opportunity to pitch. Doesn't make any difference where you're pitching. If you can pitch, they'll find you.
3-2, the count on Williams. Runners going. Swung on and missed. Throw down by Servin. They don't get him. So Williams strikes out. So the Rays now with a runner at second and 2 down.
I have been impressed by Brian Servin. Not only at the plate, he's been productive, but that was a good throw. He's got to wait on the breaking ball, and it took him a while to get it, but he made a pretty good throw right on the money. He's been impressive so far. That's encouraging for the depth behind the plate.
A breaking ball in for a strike to Gianti Turner, the second baseman. When you're looking for attributes in that role, that veteran catcher who's probably going to start at AAA, be available if there's an injury, what attributes are you looking for?
Defense, first and foremost. When you have a backup catcher, whether he's your second catcher or third catcher, in different situation here with Kirk and Jansen, but that third catcher has to be defense first, because he's going to come up and his role is not to lose games. He's not going to win many games for you, but just don't lose them. Because in his role, he's going to be called up for a short term to fill in for one of the regular catchers that gets hurt. And you have to have the confidence you can put him behind the plate. He can get a pitcher through a game, and he's not going to make any mistakes.
Well hit down the left field line, but out in front it is pulled foul by Turner. Also, to have a veteran guy working with young arms coming up through the minors, there's got to be value there too.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks as though the Blue Jays are going to have a relatively young starting staff at AAA Buffalo. And if you have a guy like Servin or Peyton Henry, those two guys certainly with big league experience would be an asset.
Good movement on that slider there. Sharp breaking slider, but he just missed down and away. Breaking ball again. Seventh inning stretch tied at 2 here at TD Ballpark in Dunedin. Bottom 7 tied at 2 here in Dunedin. Nathan Wiles is the new pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays as the Jays get set to come up, and we are very, very pleased to be joined. Well, he's new, but not really. DeMarlo Hale is the associate manager for the Blue Jays. He is back with the team. He's on a headset right now. Can I say welcome back to Marla? Does it feel like you're back home again in a sense?
Actually, it is a good feeling, and that feeling started when I put my name on the dotted line to come back there in December. So it is a good feeling.
It's a different role for you now. I mean, you're kind of new to the organization. A lot of players that have here now weren't with you when you were here before. So what's your assignment been as far as you want to get comfortable knowing your own players?
That's a good point. I kind of feel like I'm in the first stage of learning some of these players that I don't know, and the games give me the reaction time that I want to see. But the Pilates and some of those guys that were young when I was here, they've grown into very good all-star players. So even the conversation with them is different from when they were breaking in when I was here.
DeMarlo, the term or the title associate manager is a new one in baseball. I think there are a few teams that have done this. Can you tell us exactly what your role is with the team so the people at home understand?
Well, it is a new role, and I think the industry is definitely taking some responsibility off the bench coach title. There's so many and so much resources, scouting reports, different things that play a part. And being associate manager, two things that I will really concentrate on is, one, the running game, the defense situations that happen in the game, just to help Snide with some thoughts there, because Donnie's going to be really concentrating him and G with the hitting and the offensive strategy and scoring runs. So, and the other thing is whatever needed. I've been around and I've done different jobs, whether it was outfield coach, infield coach, third base, first base. So, really what's needed. I want to help, and at the end of the day, we want to get to this point in the season where we're playing deep in the playoffs, and I want to be a part of that.
DeMarlo, when you talk about getting used to the players, that's one thing, but now you're kind of getting used to the coaching staff as well, especially your relationship with the manager. How do you go about doing that? I mean, I'm sure you've had a lot of conversations with John Snyder before spring training.
Yeah, we've communicated very well. Also, even with Pete and Donnie and the staff, just trying to get a better understanding, one, of the players, but two, also what they're doing. I try to go see what the catchers are doing, what the infielders, outfielders. So, it's a constant communication. And, as you get closer to the season, you start seeing some tendencies, because these guys will start playing a little bit longer in the game. So, I like Buck, as you know, I like to, kind of fine-tune some of the details that make teams good and being consistent. And hopefully I'm a reminder, and I want guys to be able to come to me and remind me as well, because I don't know it all.
When you were with the organization the first time, DeMarlo, John Schneider was managing in the minors. He was coming up through the system. So how well did you get to know him then? And does that help you now in your relationship, getting to know each other again now? Oh, yeah. No, we, whenever we saw each other, played each other, we always had a conversation, just checking to see how things were going. We bumped into outside the locker room a couple of times and caught up with each other. But the thing that about Snide, when he was managing the minor leagues, I put a lot of responsibility on him during spring training because I knew he could handle stations and really deal with major league players. He showed that early, and I think he appreciated that. We wasn't looking. He wasn't looking over his shoulder. It's like, hey, you got this, you got that, and he took it and ran with it and dealt with major league players. And right there, I knew that he had a bright future. There goes the runner from second, throw down, not in time. But Luis de los Santos steals third.
Jamarlo, that's an aspect of baseball we're going to see increase a lot, the running game. How do you feel about encouraging these guys to go ahead and show you what they can do on the bases here in spring training?
Yeah, I think Snide, he set the tone by telling them, we want to see what you and your skill set brings to a game, because we got the understanding as well. And the other thing, Buck, we try and understand this dropping the knee and obstruction. So, we want to see some action and see what the umpires and how they're going to call this, because I think that's going to be a big thing in this game, with the pitch clock, and you can't pick off, but twice. So I think you're going to see some stolen bases attempts continue to rise.
Talk about the dropping the knee obstruction, because that's a new wrinkle this year into the rules.
Yeah, I think it's really for the benefit of keeping these players on the field, because when you start to slide head first and, infielders blocking the bag, only thing that's going to happen is you're going to break your fingers and you're going to hurt your wrist. So, I applaud Major League Baseball trying to clean up some situations that, you don't want, some of these players on the injured list. So, and it's something that we're going to have to learn how to deal with as well. I talked to Carlos quite a bit, about infielders tagging, and, you might see a few infielders with one hand sweep tags a lot more, so their feet are not involved.
Jamarlo, with the bases loaded, nobody out here. Last one for us, but you've been very gracious with your time. The last 3 years, you were the bench coach in Cleveland for Terry Francona, one of the great managers in the game and a future Hall of Famer. Are there things that you learned, you saw with Tito, that you can bring to the Blue Jays and that can be incorporated here?
Absolutely. The success that he's had in this game, his feel for the game. And I'm going to say this, I was with him at Boston as well, and, back then I was his third base coach and then his bench coach, and when I got to Cleveland, I grew even more with him because I started to understand how, he was going to manage a game a little bit better with the personnel that he had. The one thing he always mentioned to me through our conversation is say, know your personnel, and don't ask your personnel to do something that they're not good at. And, that sticks with me, and I think it holds true for these managers that manage in this game this time as the game is evolving. So I don't think that would ever change. Know your personnel and manage to their strengths.
Great stuff. We appreciate the time. Great to have you back, DeMarlo. We look forward to chatting with you all season long.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thanks, Dave.
DeMarlo Hale, the associate manager, so kind of the right-hand man, if you will, for John Schneider. Bases loaded, nobody out. It really sounds, Buck, like it is kind of like the bench coach. It's another guy to bounce somebody off of. Don Mattingly still has the bench coach title, but as DeMarlo said, he's going to handle the running game for the opposition. Don Mattingly's going to be working really exclusively on offense right now, and DeMarlo Hale will be handling other aspects of the game.
Yeah, and Donnie now is freed up to talk to his hitters before they go to the plate. So you can talk about this inning. Okay, we got the bases loaded. Know what this guy's going to throw. Be really selective. So he's really looking forward to playing more into that offensive mindset for the hitters. And I think it's a great addition to bring in DeMarlo to take some of those traditional bench coach roles out of Mattingly's hands.
The one other thing Mattingly still will do is work with the first baseman.
Yeah.
You will still see him around the bag with Vladimir Guerrero, Justin Turner, Kevin Biggio, whomever.
And, of course, that happens before the game.
Yeah. 2-2 is popped up by Brian Serven. Infield fly rule is in effect as the catch is made out at second, one down. No such thing as a routine pop-up on a day like this between the sky and the wind.
Absolutely. Everybody kind of converges on those high pop-ups, and you just hope to hear somebody say, I got it.
So now, Rafael Lantigua. We told you about some of the numbers he put up at AAA last year. Hit over 300, walked almost 100 times. He drives this ball to center field. It's well hit. It'll be caught shy of the track. And Luis de los Santos at third can tag and jog home with the go-ahead run.
That's what Lantigua's been very good at, driving in runs. And in that situation with Less than 2 outs, bases loaded. He hits the ball deep into center field. On a normal day, that's got a chance to be at least off the wall, maybe a home run. But he put a charge into that ball and gives the Blue Jays the lead, picks up the RBI.
So first and second, 2 down for Miguel Geraldo, who's been in the organization for a while. 23-year-old from the Dominican Republic, was signed as a 16-year-old, started playing down in rookie ball in the Blue Jays system when he was 17. Last year split his time between High A Vancouver and Double A New Hampshire. No, excuse me, all of last year at Double A New Hampshire, my mistake, and hit .275 with a dozen homers, stole 16 bases.
As you mentioned, he's been in the organization a long time, and he's been with the Blue Jays in camps before, called up from the minor leagues. He's got an interesting skill set as well. You mentioned the stolen base and the power ability.
Popped up near the plate in foul territory, and the catch is made by the catcher Keegan as he set down the Blue Jays. But they do get a run, take a 3-2 lead. Specialty tickets return in 2024 with 6 incredible offers for fans. In honor of the 50th anniversary of Hello Kitty, the Blue Jays are offering an exclusive Hello Kitty light-up bow bobblehead. The bobblehead is only available with the purchase of a specialty ticket and to a limited quantity of fans. Visit BlueJays.com/promotions to secure your specialty ticket now. I love this shot. I love Victor Martinez talking to anybody on this team. I think he brings so much in so many different ways. He's with the team periodically during the season, a lot more in the spring. He lives down here in Florida, was a great player and just sees the game in such a special way. And like Bo's locked in right now. I love this.
Yeah, it's really an asset to have he around and have Martinez here, and Edwin Encarnacion does the same thing. And when you hear from these guys that have had so much success when you're a younger player, boy, it really hits home. And all he's doing is backing up, okay, what was your mindset in your second at bat? What were you trying to do? What were you looking for? What would you like to do again? What would what adjustments would you make? And Victor is terrific.
You know what's interesting? It's like Bo came out in the 6th inning. 99% of the time guys come out and they're gone, right? They walk down the line, they get their bags, they go back to the complex, they get in their cars and they go home. He's still sitting here talking to Victor Martinez.
He's got a new role. He's a leader.
I like it.
Yeah. It's terrific. And we've talked about it before. Of course, for those of you who haven't heard that Bo had him, he addressed the team at the start of spring training about the challenges they face as a team. He said, I need to be better, you need to be better, we all need to be better as a team, and we want to win. We want to win a World Series, and that's going to be hard. But you're right, and how many times have you seen these guys just hit for a couple times and take off?
Nice play down to third by Tanner Morris for the first out here in the top of the 8th.
When you leave a game early in spring training, and we never were allowed to leave a game early in spring training, we always ran the bases after a game as a team. So you stayed around, and you don't know who's going to come into the game, especially when you're playing Tampa Bay. You might see a guy that you don't think anything about, but then you might see him again in July. He might come up in August. Hey, I remember this guy. We saw him in Dunedin back in spring training. Give you a little bit more insight as to what you might be dealing with. And another thing I like that's happened early in the spring is hitters are getting 3 at-bats, 3 plate appearances. They're up there. You know, if you have 1 or 2 at-bats, you might see 5 pitches in a day and then not play for another couple days.
Second inning of work for Andrew Bash out of the Blue Jay bullpen. Paxton Schultz now up in the bullpen for the Blue Jays, perhaps in case Bash reaches his pitch count here in his second inning of work. Ball and 2 strikes on Nick Meyer, who's now in at first base for the Rays. Yeah, I think you heard it from Bo Bichette and from some of the other older players as well. You know, the last 2-3 years, whatever, they've been thought of as huge contenders, extremely talented teams. And they haven't gotten where they have wanted to get, ultimately. And now there appears to be a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. We don't want to be underachievers anymore. We want to, you know, we're not the hunted anymore. There just seems to be a bit of a different vibe with some of the players heading into this season.
Yeah, and a different vibe and a different focus during drills, during practice, during batting practice, during these early spring training games. And that conversation is still going on. And you know what? That's invaluable. Just sit around and talk to a veteran like Victor Martinez about different situations, and then all of a sudden it might prompt you to have a question. Well, what do you mean by that? I don't understand what that means. And you know, like, you know, really focus and bring him into your strengths and get him back over the plate where you want him, those types of things. We know Bo can hit just about any pitch, and pitches off the plate, pitches that no other guy can get to. He can get to pitches and hit them hard. But now I think there's more in his game where he can become an impact hitter, one of the guys you compare to Corey Seager or Trey Turner, those types of shortstops that put up offensive numbers as well. He's always been able to get hits. Now I think he wants to improve in his ability to get hits that do damage.
Line drive to right. Stewart of Baroa makes the catch. Conversation over. Lots of good stuff there. Don't miss episode 2 of the 4-part documentary Indian Baseball Dreams, coming up immediately following the game today on Sportsnet. This documentary features the Blue Jays' first-round pick of last year, Arjun Nimala, as he experiences his parents' hometown and India's sporting culture. I have seen part of this. It is outstanding. It's about the growth of baseball in India. Arjun's parents are from India. He was born in the U.S. He is a scintillating talent, first-round pick last year, but him going back to India and reconnecting with family and having those kind of impromptu little clinics with kids, it's a really great documentary.
Yeah, it's terrific, and it just gives you an idea how widespread baseball is. It's truly a worldwide game now.
Antonio Jimenez is into the game for the Rays here in the bottom of the 8th. The Blue Jays up 3-2. Tanner Morris is the batter. Morris spent last year at AAA and in 96 games hit .281, 21 doubles, 6 homers, took 61 walks. Plays third base and second base. There's an infield logjam in Toronto. There's going to be an infield logjam in Buffalo as well.
Yeah, and a lot of talented young players coming through the system, and that's my concern. That there's not a lot of places for them to play. You cut down your minor league system to basically 4 teams and a complex team. It's difficult, and boy, you got to show something quickly because there's another draft class coming in July.
And a swing and a foul tip is Morris is down on strikes. We haven't talked about some of the guys because they're not here today, but Addison Barger, Aurelvis Martinez, Leo Jimenez. I mean, these are big-time names, big-time prospects, and all of them could be at AAA. Like, that next wave is trying to push its way through to the big league.
Yeah, and we probably will see some of those guys tomorrow as the Blue Jays will take on the Phillies, and we'll be right back here in Dunedin with that broadcast.
Again, Jose Barrios will be on the mound for that one. Stuart Baroa is the batter, a 24-year-old from Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. Last year, most of his time at AA. Did get 22 games in at AAA. Between the two levels, hit .258, 7 homers, and he's got some wheels. He stole 47 bases last year, caught 10 times.
He's a switch hitter too, and that makes him that much more interesting. And T.J. Brock, this is an interesting guy. He's going to have a situation where come into a game in the 9th inning potentially with a 1-run lead, at least a 1-run lead. He's not been a guy we've talked an awful lot about in the past, but he's certainly garnered a lot of attention this spring.
Yep. Ball and 2 strikes on Baroa. And that is strike 3 called right down at the knees, 2 down.
A couple of strikeouts for Jimenez. Lefty gets a breaking ball in there. It catches the inside corner right at the knees, and Baroa is called out on strikes.
So 2 down. Here's Devontae Brown, an outfielder in the Blue Jays system. 24-year-old who played at North Carolina State, was undrafted out of college. Last year played mostly at Vancouver, that's high A, a little bit at AA New Hampshire. And another guy who could have run 21 steals and 22 tries. A lot of these guys who have wheels, the key to their future is, can you just get on base enough to really use those wheels?
Right. And you have to have a position play as well, but yeah, speed is an important aspect of it.
And he'll try to use it here, but will get thrown out to retire the side. We're going to the top of the 9th here in Dunedin. Blue Jays up 3-2. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Always fun to be covering games down here in Dunedin. The Blue Jays up 3-2 going to the 9th against the Rays. And the guy that Buck was just talking a little bit about last half inning, T.J. Brock, is into the game. What do you like about him?
I like everything about him. I like the way he throws a lot of strikes. He works quickly. He's got a good fastball and a very good slider. And you watch how he's an up-tempo guy, and sometimes you have to slow him down as he gets excited and want to finish off the game because he believes so much in his stuff and his ability to record outs.
Split last season between Vancouver and New Hampshire. He's going to get a quick visit here from his catcher Brian Servant after falling behind 3-0. Had a lot of success at Vancouver, not as much at New Hampshire, although the strikeout totals were huge at both levels. Struck out 87 and 56 and a third combined. And interestingly, was a reliever all through college at Ohio State, was never a starting pitcher. So obviously his arsenal dictated that people would look at him as a high leverage kind of reliever, and it's the velocity on the fastball and the break on the slider.
And it's also interesting, he was a 4-year pitcher at Ohio State. So he was drafted as a senior at Ohio State. But he's got velocity. He'll be upset that he walks that first batter. He understands you're in a one-run game. You come out of the bullpen, and that's the last thing you want to do. Give up a leadoff walk in a one-run game in a ninth. He's from Cincinnati, and Pat Tabler, I was talking to him the other day, he says, keep an eye on T.J. Brock. He said, I know a lot about him, and I think he's going to be a guy that the Blue Jays will really like.
Here's Cameron Meisner, and he'll take high ball one. That's the slider there. It's a high 80s slider to go with a mid to high 90s fastball, and Brock's going to try a new baseball.
This is his second outing of the spring. He had a very good outing the first time out. He worked an inning, gave up a hit, but had 2 strikeouts.
And just struggling to find the zone right now. That one's in there. And it's 2-1. A little backdoor slider there. Gets the call on the corner, 2-2.
Yeah, his first outing was against the Phillies. He pitched in the 9th inning, but it was a lopsided score. This is a different feel for him in a 3-2 ball game.
Well, if you're T.J. Brock, what you aspire to do is pitch in the big leagues and pitch in these kinds of situations. You throw 98, you know, you want to have them look at you as a late inning high leverage guy.
Yeah, and that's what you want to do as a reliever. That's a good slider right there. That's a hard slider at 88.
Well, he throws it a lot, too. I mean, this is a left-handed batter, too, and he's thrown a lot of sliders to him.
Yeah, and it'll break down. It is firm, and he'll want to look at that slider to go straight down, and that'll get a swing and a miss or a ground ball for him in this situation.
Tying run at first. Nobody out here in the top of the 9th. And he missed. Off speed again, missed down and away, and that's back-to-back walks to open up the inning.
And Pete Walker's going to come out and see if he can't help his youngster in this situation, get him back into the strike zone a little bit. I think he's just overthrowing a bit, and he's really come out of his delivery. That's one thing that Pete has seen. He said, I see a lot of good stuff, but we need to refine some of these deliveries so these pitchers can repeat their pitches. There's no question he has the stuff with velocity and a good breaking ball. That's all you need pitching out of the bullpen. You know, his arsenal is a little bit like Jordan Romano's. You know, upper 90s fastball and a very good breaking ball. But you got to be able to command it, and you got to be able to throw strikes.
He's thrown 12 pitches, and 9 of them have been the slider, whether you want to call it a cutter or a slider, but I believe he calls it a slider as hard as he throws it. But only 3 fastballs among the first 12 pitches he's thrown. There's a fastball.
Message from Pete Walker. Hey, get ahead. Use your fastball. And it's a good fastball. 95 to get ahead.
Good fastball again.
And you know what? That's what Jordan Romano's going to do this spring. Throw a few more fastballs and try to establish that where he can throw it any time for a strike and then cut down the number of sliders that he needs to throw.
First and second, nobody out. And misses high. That's the slider there at 89, a ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, he's just out in front of it. He doesn't have his hand on top, and because of that, he's throwing it hard, but he's not getting the desired break on it. Better one in a better spot. Tampa Bay only has 2 hits. They had a single, Austin Shenton in the 4th, and Ahmed Rosario had a wind-blown double in the 5th. That's it.
Both the runs they scored unearned. Trevor Richards was on the mound, but they were unearned. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. committed an error in that inning. Full count. And Paxton Schultz is up again. He was up last inning in case Andrew Bash needed some help. He's up again as Brock's pitch count continues to climb. This is popped up. And Phil Clark at first base will make the catch. Clark is a catcher by trade, but also played a little bit of first base.
Catcher number 82.
One down. Here's Dominic Keegan now for the Rays.
You know, I think Pete Walker and John Schneider would like to see how T.J. Brock reacts to get out of this inning.
Chopper to third. To second one, on to first, and tie. Well, he reacted pretty well.
Absolutely. Walked the first 2 batters, gets a pop-up and a double play, and all things are good. He'll be credited with a spring training save. Pretty good outing, his second of the spring. So the Blue Jays beat Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay with just 2 hits and with 2 out or 2 on, and here's the double play ball. 5-4-3. That ends the ball game. And good job by T.J. Brock to overcome a pair of walks to start the inning. Good day for the Blue Jays.
Don't forget, we'll be back with you tomorrow. Jose Barrios on the mound as the Blue Jays play the Phillies. We'll have it for you at 1 o'clock Eastern time. And again, don't miss it. It's coming up right now. Episode 2 of the 4-part documentary, Indian Baseball Dreams. For Buck and Hazel, I'm Dan Schulman. Thanks so much for watching.